So welcome everybody. This is the first in a series of videos that we will be posting on LinkedIn. So you're very welcome. You get to enjoy my face again on your LinkedIn feed, but this time you also get to enjoy Super Colin's face as well, who is joining me. And every day we are going to post a video talking about our experiences from conversations we've been having with manufacturers, trends, predictions, other things that are happening within the industry and within the 5 sub-segments of manufacturing that IFS look at. And we wanted to try and get as many of you guys involved as possible with us doing these videos, to share your thoughts, share your opinions with us so that we can make these videos hopefully as useful as possible. So to kick us off, obviously last week, you will know this probably if you've watched any of my previous videos where I've been talking about webinars, we hosted the second in a series of live webinars we've been running. This one was focused on food and beverage manufacturing, and we ran 3 sessions of this throughout the day on Wednesday last week so that we could cover as many time zones as possible. So Colin had to put up with listening to me introduce him 3 times in a row. But yeah, Colin, do you want to kind of tell us a bit more about the topics that you covered in those webinars?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they were interesting because they were a little bit of a personal opinion. They were things that actually had affected me. But I think what we're trying to do is to give people some advice and share the real stories out there. I think, you know, a lot of the stuff you see is a bit boring and a bit old and a bit samey. So the webinar was quite interesting because, as I say, it was sharing some of my own personal views about manufacturing, certainly in the food and bev space, but also bringing in some stats and some statistics that came in from various marketeers and analysts. So it was a bit of both. It was a bit of fun and a bit of reality.
Brilliant. And you only had to repeat yourself 3 times.
Yeah, people, and not only that, the great thing about it is if people didn't get to hear one of the 3 that I did, there is actually a recording on IFS.
That is true, yes.
So you can actually go and listen to it again.
Now, Colin on demand at whatever time you'd like. Brilliant. So the other thing I know that we published, I don't know whether it was it last week or the week before, was an update on your predictions blog. So for those that haven't seen them, at the beginning of the year, all of our industry directors wrote a blog on what their predictions were for 2020. Now, I think it's fair to say that none of them that I read mentioned any kind of pandemic. Unfortunately, we weren't that insightful. However, obviously, you know, this happened. Nobody predicted it clearly. But the impact that it has meant that actually you guys have gone through and updated your predictions based on the current pandemic the world is experiencing.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, my style of blogging never really changes. It tends to be rather personal. I tend to write from the heart, and this one really was from the heart because I think the things I'd seen and read about were just so staggering. I mean, one interesting fact which I actually do write about in the blog is, you know, the people in northern India for the first time in 25 years had actually seen the Himalayas because the air quality got that much better. And I kind of think that's an amazing thing. So my blog is very much around sustainability. It's very much around manufacturing, what manufacturers should now start thinking about, because when this is all over, I mean, the new normal is going to be different. And I really hope we learn our lessons from what's happened in the last few months in terms of, you know, just the whole behavioral pattern of everybody, which is interesting because, as you well know, we've got something even more interesting coming up, which I'm sure you'd like to share with everybody.
I would indeed. Thank you. That was perfectly introduced. So yeah, the project that we are about to start working on, or have started working on, is trying to share with people and trying to talk about, as Colin said, what can we learn from this? If we can take away something positive from what has been a truly horrific experience for many, many people, and I'm not trying to belittle that, but if we can take away something positive, what could that be? And is it around that subject of sustainability and the fact that actually, as Colin said, you can see the Himalayas in northern India, you can see jellyfish swimming up through the canals in Venice. I've seen quite, you know, so many positive things in terms of the environment, you know, and obviously we can't shut the world down for 6 weeks at a time every few months to achieve this, but we have inadvertently achieved this by being forced into lockdown. So what can we learn, and how can we avoid making some of the mistakes of the past, in particular for manufacturers. You know, are there lessons here that they can learn about? Certainly supply chain, obviously, you know, there's been a huge impact in terms of availability of, you know, items in supply chains, and obviously overseas, and sourcing things. So I feel like there's a great amount of information here that we could take, we could look at, and we can hopefully improve it going forward. And one of the projects that Colin and I will be introducing over the next coming weeks is around this subject. And what we'd really like to do is speak to as many manufacturers as possible to talk about, well, the impact that it has had on your particular industry. How have you dealt with it? You know, have you come up with any ingenious solutions to try and deal with supply chain issues? Or the reality is, you know, how are you thinking that you will ramp back up to complete demand once that, you know, once your consumer demand is higher again? And we really just want to take this opportunity to ask you now, if you have a story to share, if you have something to say, if you have an opinion about this, please reach out to me, reach out to Colin, because we have a project that we'd really like to get you involved with.
Yeah, and it's worth them saying as well, Helen, that, you know, at the end of the day, it's not a lot of effort. All we're asking for is 5 or 10 minutes of your time. In fact, if you don't want to talk to us and you just want to record a little video and send it through to us, we'd be more than happy to include you in our project.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, I don't think I've personally got anything else to say. I've rambled on as usual. Anything else you particularly want to add, Colin?
No, I think I'm good. As I say, listening to you ramble on every Monday in the forthcoming weeks will be very, very
You get
interesting.
to listen to me ramble on every day. We only have to subject it to everyone else on a Monday.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.